What is up, folks? Welcome back to another podcast here today. And we're going to get straight to it. We got tons of anime topics to discuss. Hope you all are doing well. But yeah, I am solo once again. Let's continue and get straight into these Naruto based topics. So, first one I want to discuss definitely, with Swakage's latest video, Minato versus Shisui. I have my own thoughts on it. Um, but I want to talk about the specific topic at hand, Minato versus Shisui, right? And I have my thoughts after watching that video, which is a pretty good video, if I should say so myself. But basically, to put it frank here, although this hypothetical matchup is appealing on the surface, it really is not contentious at all due to the lack of power scaling establishing feats from Shisui, right? I believe that an appeal to emotion by casual fans and admirable traits from Shisui as a character is what makes Waikage make the video in the first place, but I am glad that he stayed objective enough to give the correct conclusion to this topic, right? So he gave the correct conclusion, which is Minato would win. It's just highly, highly probable and highly likely that he'd win. And I'm glad that Swag stayed true to that. I'm glad he stayed true to that. Give me 1 second, folks, and I'll continue. I'm just going to let the people know that we are live real quick. 1 second. Yeah, but like I was saying, I'm glad Swag stayed true to that. He didn't, appeal to the masses because there's obviously a bias for Shisui. He's a very cool character. I personally really like him, and I could see why people would rank him a little bit. There is a lot of lore around him. Itachi respected him, and it's an appealing matchup. It definitely will raise your eyebrow seeing that matchup, right? So I understand where the appeal comes to. But continuing on, now that I'm done with that. So one of the best arguments I formulated to quickly settle this topic for those who need it settled, right? For those that are skeptical, is that Shisui, in all adaptations of his respective characters, so the anime, the video game, and the manga, he was defeated by a character or characters that are blatantly inferior to Minato, Danzo, right? And in the novel, the Aburuma clan poisoned him, so that happened as well, which is very unfortunate, right? So he was defeated by characters weaker than him. Shisui was, right? So continuing on, if we were to swap the character and put Minato in that position, do you really think that he would have been defeated in any of those adaptations? Would he have been defeated in the anime the way that Shisui was? No. Danzo would not be able to even react in time to have Minato defeated. Minato has superior reaction times, right? So I'm trying to say that, right, in all adaptations, Shisui was defeated by characters blatantly inferior to Minato, right? Hence, it's easy to transitively, narratively imply that a clear, simple, logically sound power scaling assessment is all you need to illuminate the fact that Minato is blatantly superior to Shisui and would win in the event that they were to engage in battle. It's really that simple. It's really not that contentious at all, right? But, Swag is a smart man. He knows what sells. And what sells is matchups that happen to have very loved characters within the Naruto fandom. He knows that. And that's the reason that he made the video. So like Minato versus Shisui. But I'm glad he stayed objective, right? He didn't appeal to the masses and make it contentious because it's not contentious. It really is not. Minato versus Shisui is not a contentious matchup. It is pretty clear cut who would most likely win. It's not those Pain versus Itachi kind of matchups that are truly contentious. It's not one of those at all, right? So I thought it was a good video. I thought him and Six, because Six was in it as well, was fair. They were both fair in their assessments. And they even give Shisui the benefit of the doubt in some of these. Saying that he's Kage level, which is fair, because him and Itachi were considered the most talented and gifted of Uchiha in a Uchiha clan that had Fugaku, who was once a candidate for the fourth Hokage position, right? So from that, you can imply that due to that, Shisui is Kage level plus. And they also brought up the fact that Shisui was the chosen one to kidnap Hiruzen when executing the coup d'etat for the Uchiha clan, right? However, right, they also countered by saying, well, that might just have to do with the ability that he has, right? The herald ability that he has, which is the Kodomatsukami. That's his herald ability. So That's probably the real reason why he was the chosen one. He can manipulate Hiruzen, right, with it. And my argument was, and it still is that the Kodo Matsukami can be used in several intensities, in several varying intensities. It can be used from the most powerful version, which is when you have the 10-year cool off period, or it can be used the way Danzo used it at the Five Kage Summit when he was manipulating Mifune, the mediator, into making him the leader of the Allied Shinobi forces. So I honestly think, although it is a theory, I think that the Kodo Matsukami can be used at varying intensity levels. There's a variation of intensity levels that can be used when using the Kodo Matsukami, and it is unexplored. Like is it possible that Shisui could have used it in the midst of battle? Could he have subtly used the Kodo Matsukami to slowly manipulate an opponent? We don't know. There is no answer to that question. It's a possibility, though. However, despite all that, there isn't enough to establish the possibility that Shisui could be even remotely close to the speed of Minato. He couldn't even handle Gonzo or Aburume clan poison. Like Minato would not even be in the battlefield if there's any poison present. Let's say if Gonzo was trying to poison Minato, it wouldn't happen. They physically can't react in time to catch him slipping. Essentially, you're not going to catch Minato slipping. Even someone of Obito's caliber couldn't. And he threatened Minato with Naruto's life. He still failed. Minato is in a whole different tier, right? So it's not contentious at all. I know there's casuals out there that like to entertain the idea, but when you're a power scaler, at least one that's logically sound, you're going to come to the conclusion quite quickly that Minato is blatantly superior to Shisui, right? But they also discussed what about full potential Shisui. Now that's interesting, right? Because we don't know what his full potential would have been. What we do know is Itachi respected him, and it's pretty implied that he looked at him as a possible superior. So who knows? Maybe his potential is even greater than Itachi's. And in that case, if we would have seen him grow up, we would have seen a lot of power scaling, establishing feats. Who knows? Maybe this discussion would be different. But there isn't enough narratively to imply any of that. This isn't really up for discussion. It's not contentious, right? It really is not. And due to that, it can be settled pretty quickly. Anyone that's even remotely logically sound in power scaling will shut this one down pretty quickly. And Swag and Six did that because they are competent in power scaling. They are. So I'm glad that they did that. I really don't understand the backlash on social media that I saw. I really don't understand it. Maybe they were mad that they didn't give Shisui the wank that they wanted. There's a lot of casuals on social media for sure. A lot of casual fans. Coming into the video, I knew about the backlash. Right? I was like, okay, maybe they were appealing to the masses, but no, they didn't. So I don't think there's any warranted real backlash that they should receive for this video. It wasn't outlandish. Their takes were not outlandish. It was all very fair. I thought everything they said was fair. It was all their takes were fair. It was valid, and I didn't think they said anything that was rash or outlandish. I really didn't, and I would have pointed it out. I try to be valid and logical, even for someone that I admire as much as Swag. I try to be. Same thing with Adult Sakura versus Madara. It's another example. The reality is there is power establishing events to imply Sakura would beat EMS Madara. There really is. It's just as simple as that, right? It's just there. And I was a skeptic too because I love Madara. I don't want to see a bitch, Sakura who's so disliked amongst the community. I don't want people thinking that she could beat Madara, but she can. As an adult, she can. EMS Madara, yes. It is highly likely that she would defeat him. It's true. That's just the way it is. You don't have to accept the truth, but the truth hurts, right? It's highly likely. That's the reality. So it's as simple as that. It really is. It's people don't want to accept the truth. And I have another topic about emotional arguments, which is very common in the anime community because people get emotionally attached to characters. And I understand that's the writers are trying to have that happen. They want us to be attached to Itachi. They want us to be attached to Sasuke. She can't be Madara. She's strong, but she's being overrated lately in terms of strength. I disagree highly. Her feats against Jubidar, her durability against Jubidar, it's quite easy to imply that she would mop the floor with EMS Madara. It's really not that contentious, to be quite honest with you. I don't think she's getting overrated at all. In fact, she's a character that's always not given the benefit of the doubt due to how emotionally, you know, how emotionally triggered we get by Sakura. Delta would destroy Madara. Yes, I agree. You're right, Dems boys. Delta is relative to Six Paths Naruto. Maybe not on the same level, but she is relative to him. It was a competitive exchange. Reality of the situation is these characters are superior. I mean, in a fighting themed anime, there's always going to be an upward trend in character power scale. It's the way it works. In Dragon Ball too, you have Dragon Ball Goku all the way up to Dragon Ball Super Goku. There's a clear upward trend, and because of that, transitively, you're going to have stronger villains as well. It's really simple. It's very logical. It's not hard to absorb that. It's not hard to comprehend that. You know what I'm saying? It's really not. It's really not. People don't want to accept the truth, but the truth hurts. I wish Itachi was the strongest character in all Naruto. I love Itachi. He's my favorite character, but I'm not going to say he beats Madara. And there's a lot of people that do. A lot of people really think he can beat Madara, which is just outlandish. I don't Sakura at all, but Sakura can. Yes, exactly. Aloha. What's going on, Justin? People need to understand stronger does not mean they're a better character. Exactly. I love Itachi. I love Madara. But can they compete with those Sasuke level threats? Absolutely not. It's just disingenuous to say so just because you like him more as a character. It really is that simple. It's really that simple. We got to live in an objective based reality when discussing these things. We can't be emotionally invested in these characters. We really can't. Which seems to be the case with a lot of individuals within the Naruto fandom. It's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. But yeah, that's my first one. Now, next one up that I actually got from Seth, watching him on Twitch. Have you seen Itachi vs. Madara, Seth, Clyde, and Swag? I believe I have, quite a long time ago. I think I have a reaction to it. It's probably there somewhere. But the next topic that I saw Seth talk about was a nerfed adult Naruto versus nerfed adult Sasuke, right? Now, this is an intriguing one to think about. This is my take on it, all right? There's definitely an argument to be made for adult Sasuke being superior as a shinobi to adult Naruto post nerf, all right? Here's why. With Naruto losing Kurama, he loses the most used asset in battle, which includes enhanced durability, near infinite levels of chakra, and regeneration, right? So he lost all that, right? Obviously, with not having Kurama. Sasuke lost the Rinnegan, which he does not utilize very often, at least on the surface level. Obviously, the Rinnegan, Sharingan give him enhanced abilities, probably as far as strength, speed, etc. But as far as the surface level abilities, he really never used them except to transport between dimensions and to use the swapping technique that he would use when he would swap with inanimate objects or other organisms or villains or whatever the case may be. He didn't really use the Rinnegan besides those reasons. So basically, he still has, with the Sharingan, he still has Amaterasu. He most likely still has Susanoo. And of course, he has Genjutsu, right? So think about it this way. I have my own presupposition. Now, this is my own presupposition. This is not concrete. That the writers are going to intend and keep Sasuke and Naruto at a similar level when it comes to speed and things of that nature. Because throughout Boruto, they've been seemingly equal. Against Momoshiki, they were literally moving together, doing things, congruently at the same pace, etc., which heavily implies they're very relative. Even against Jigen, they were doing about the same success rates until obviously Baryon. Well, that's different. But I mean, before that, they were basically neck and neck, right? So I think that's going to tend to be the case. I may be wrong, but that's my presupposition. It's my prediction. But with that presupposition, I think the difference would actually be the hacks abilities. Because think about it like this: what if Sasuke uses Genjutsu? It's over. What can Naruto do? He doesn't have Kurama to snap him out of it. So if they're in a one-on-one battle, he's fucked with the Genjutsu abilities, right? Or Amaterasu, what would he do against that? There is no QB cloak anymore to kind of to remove their Amaterasu like he did against Sasuke in the War Arc when they fought. He won't be able to do that anymore. Essentially, he would burn to death. He doesn't have those abilities anymore. Kurama's dead. He's gone. So the hacks abilities, in my opinion, would be the difference. I think Sasuke is the big dog now between the two. The hacks abilities is the difference. Unfortunately, we're probably never going to get to see what that's like because obviously they're friends now. But I think it's safe to assume Sasuke is superior now due to Hack's abilities. He has more hacks. Naruto, as far as we're aware of, only has Sage Mode, right? So it's really simple as that. So continuing on. So hence, despite the ambiguity when it comes to exact power levels, which is a very common trend in Boruto, from what we currently do know, I believe it is safe to say Sasuke is now superior between the two. I think he is the superior one. If anything, the Renegon held back most of his power, was broken, helped him in battle, but also limited most of his abilities. That's fair. If Naruto can utilize other telebeasts more, it would be fire. Yeah, I tend to agree with Seth's take on this particular thing. He says, and I agree with it, that Kurama was the link between the other telebeasts, and he was the link for 6 past powers. Right, so I believe he doesn't have that no more. Yeah. Also, now this is another take that I believe I have the hunch that neither one of them have 6 past powers anymore. I think the writers, again, my presupposition is they want to keep them at a relative level. So it would be kind of nonsensical to have Sasuke have 6 past powers still, not Naruto. I think that's fair to assume. And a lot of people like to ask, will Sasuke get the Renegon back? I don't think the writers want to make one or the other the head honcho. I don't know. Maybe who knows? Maybe in the future that's their intention. But from what I can kind of absorb, it doesn't seem like they want to make Sasuke the top dog blatantly. I think now he is the top dog, but they don't want to make it very blatant. So give him the Renegon, he would be the blatant superior to Naruto. They would have to amp Naruto somehow. Maybe they give him the ability to learn to fly in Raijin because his dad is a Minato or something like that. I don't know. But I think if one guy gets amped as well, that's my presupposition. It's not this, but that's my presupposition based off what we know and what we've seen from the Naruto. Naruto has Rush Churki, and I feel like multi Shadow Clone Jutsu and Rush Churki are better than Sasuke's current hacks. Yeah, but if he uses Amaterasu and or Genjutsu, that's all kind of negated. That's a good argument, though. That is a good argument. But it seems it's safer to say that Sasuke is the top dog right now. They're relative in speed, so I mean, if he gets hits once, it's over. So the burden of performance would be on Naruto. So let's continue on to the next. They aren't getting 6 past stuff back, in my opinion. Naruto will probably learn a new Sage mode. So I agree with that hunch. I think the writers intend, narratively speaking, to move on to the next generation. So kind of negating the nerf that took place would be somewhat nonsensical and kind of negate the impact that it had on us and the entire timeline of Boruto, right? So I would say they're going to stay the way they are. They might have new abilities, but I doubt they'll get to the levels they once were. I think the writer's intentions is to pass on the torch. I always say this. They're passing the torch to the next generation. Boruto, Kawaki, Sarada, Mitsuki. They're the next generation of shinobi, right? So they want to make them the top dogs. And it only makes sense, right? That's the whole point of Boruto. It's not called Naruto anymore. It's called Boruto. Next generations. It's in the fucking title. You know what I'm saying? So it only makes sense that they're not going to get. It's very, very unlikely that they get 6 past powers back, or that Sasuke gets a Renegon. And if he does, it won't be, it won't be one that gives him 6 past powers, in my opinion. What's going on? 23 days later. What's up? But yeah, Boruto. It's very easy to imply that it's on to the next generation. We're talking about the next generation now. They're the next ones up. Even in the latest chapter, right? We had kind of Naruto taking the back 9. Kawaki saved his ass when Boroshiki was about to take Naruto out, and Kawaki saved him, right? You obviously can't definitively state, oh, Sasuke, Naruto would have died, but it seems like that was heavily the case. And it just seems that the passing of the torch is already happening. That we're in that stage now. Naruto and Sasuke had their time. I think their peak was against Momoshiki. That was like their peak. And after that, the writers are like, all right, it's time to start passing it on to the next generation. That's the way I look at it, narratively speaking. So they dominated Momoshiki, right? They went all out. They beat him down. After that, the passing of the torch really started. Boruto became a vessel. We started to learn more about, the organization with Jigen, the Kara, the cyborgs, the abilities that they possess, and we saw an upward trend in difficulty, basically. And then Naruto and Sasuke were nerfed. Hence, the passing of the torch is really apparent now, very apparent. So it's very interesting to see narratively. What I'm excited about this next chapter is we're gonna get to see what Naruto's capable of, because in his eyes, Boruto's dead. Right? Kawaki killed him in chapter 66. He killed him. We all know he's not actually dead. There's a time skip where they're alive, clearly, but we're gonna see what Naruto's capable of. Will he attack Code in an act of rage? Will he attack Kawaki? Who knows? He killed his fucking son, so he's gonna do something. Something is going to happen. Something is going to happen. That's Naruto's fighting somebody. That's I guarantee you that. Sakura isn't useless. She had her moments. Oh yeah, I'll talk about that soon. I know that you saw that in the title. I'm gonna talk about that soon. Shikamaru gotta die. What else is he gonna do? There's nothing else he can really do. He's useless in this fucking context unless they wank his shadow possession jutsu to a level where you can hold down cyborgs or hold down Code. I mean, he did hold down Kinchiki momentarily, but then he fucking used his hacks and that didn't last long. Yeah, they went too fast on the passing of the torch. In my opinion, it's rushed and not very well done. I hate it, to be honest, though the Ishiki arc was great. I agree, and I'm definitely going to speak on how I thought it should have been done. But yeah, so basically, adult nerfed Sasuke most likely defeats adult nerfed Naruto. There's more narratively to imply that. Is there arguments to be made for the other side? Yes, but I think they're weaker in my opinion. He's holding back Naruto's movements as well, though. Yeah, exactly. He's a liability. So, all right. So this is an older topic, but I think I can quickly settle it. Obito versus healthy alive Nagato. So orange mask Obito specifically, right? I think this can quickly be settled by the fact that Obito referred to Nagato on at least on one occasion as a subordinate. He quote unquote said a subordinate. So he clearly looks down upon Nagato. He doesn't look at him as a viable threat enough to indicate him as an equal or superior. He calls him his subordinate. Right? There's obviously a power hierarchy amongst the Akatsuki with Obito at the helm. So powerful, in fact, that they believe he's fucking Madara. They literally think he's Madara because he's that threatening to them. Right? Even in Pain's own crib in the fucking Rain Village, where he's at his most powerful, Obito would give him orders like it was nothing. It's clear who the superior is. I know this is an appealing matchup. Nagato's very respected. He's very respected amongst the Naruto fandom. He's a very cool character. I always say that Pain arc's my favorite arc. It is my very favorite arc ever. However, do I think he's more strong than? Is he superior to Obito? No, he's not. He's not. Obito looks down on him. It's as simple as that. Kishimoto made that pretty clear. He was a top dog amongst the Akatsuki. He's the top dog. It's simple as that. I don't think Origin is above Obito at all. Nagato's feats and scaling along with Tachi's, they have better stuff than him. Well, just because he doesn't have the feats to show for it doesn't mean he's stronger. And the fact that he called Nagato a subordinate, I think is more than enough. Honestly, simple as that. You can't revere feats and just state, oh, the other guy doesn't have the feats when there's a power hierarchy amongst the Akatsuki with Obito at the helm. So, and that's concrete. That's concrete. The fuck Kishimoto himself established that. It's not like a contentious thing where we need to nitpick feats just because Obito doesn't have the feats to show for it. Yeah. Obito was always, I think that's safe to say he was always holding back a little bit. And he didn't ever want to show his hand, until the war arc, of course. Yeah, you can't. The lack of feats does not discredit the fact that he was at the helm amongst the Akatsuki. He was at the helm. He was the leader, with Pain giving orders to the rest. He was taking orders from Obito. And think about this. Pain definitely had a god complex. So if he thinks that you're superior to him, he's not gonna let you boss him around. Just look up the god complex he had when he went to the Leaf. He was fucking god amongst boys there. You really think he's gonna let someone who's not superior? That's if someone's not superior to him, you think he's gonna let them talk down on him, give him orders? It's really simple. It's really, it's pretty logically easy to understand that, to comprehend that. Power scaling works especially well when it's contentious, like Itachi versus Pain or something like that. Sasuke versus Naruto. Power scaling is necessary because those are contentious, right? I'm not saying Obito versus Nagato is like 100%, but it's very likely that Obito would win. It's very likely. It's very, very likely. So, all right. So now I know some people are already talking about this. Sakura. Now, this is more narrative. This isn't power scaling. This is just me talking about her as a character. Was she useless? All right. So, again, let me give my take on this. He thinks he's moderate, and he basically raised and manipulated him. Exactly. I don't think that's a good argument, really. I think it's a very good argument. The power scaling hierarchy, the power hierarchy amongst the Akatsuki is more than enough. That's not really an argument. That's just me pointing out fact. A fact. There's a power hierarchy. That's a fact. So I don't really need an argument because honestly, not too contentious. Pain thinks he's Madara. Yeah, well, if he didn't think, yeah, he thinks he's Madara because he's powerful. That's why he thinks he's Madara. Anyone can say they're Madara. You're not going to believe him. So simple as that. Pretty simple. But is Sakura useless? All right. So this is all opinion based. This is about her character, not as far as power and all that. This is her as a character. Is she useless? All right. So this is my take. Early on, Sakura, narratively speaking, was most definitely an obnoxious character who was only obsessed with insignificant things in a world filled with war and conflict. Right? Her mind was not in the right place for us as viewers. Right? So continuing on, this made her come off as somewhat selfish and shallow. That's very safe to say. I think a lot of people look at her that way, even to this day. It could be said that Kishimoto tried his best to redeem her in Shippuden, having little success in my opinion due to what she was doing at that point in the Naruto timeline, which included drugging other Leaf Shinobi to try and stop Sasuke. And then she failed to do that and almost died at his hand. That's just very selfish, when deep down she knew she wasn't going to do it. Deep down she knew. She was conflicted. But she drugged and sedated her own team to almost get herself killed. Very shallow, very selfish of her. And also tried to lie to Naruto to manipulate him into no longer trying to save Sasuke. Right, so she was trying to manipulate him with the feelings that she knew he had for her to use him. And even before in part 1, when she's like, please save Sasuke, and put the fucking world on his shoulders because she's a fucking simp. Please save Sasuke. Naruto went through all kinds of shit because of her. She's a class character. Even in Shippuden, all that fucking weight was on him. And obviously, there's the other side of the coin. Well, that's what pushed him. That's fair. You could say, yeah, that pushed him to greatness. That's why he became the fucking Hokage. Right. But on this side of the coin, I'm saying she fucking put all that weight on him. Right. All that weight was on him. And she knew how he felt about her. The weight. I always chose Sasuke over him when he was deeply in love with her. Chose him when he was a terrorist, And I honestly believe her and Sasuke ending up together was definitely forced. It just doesn't make sense after all the events that transpired. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It really fucking doesn't. She's with him now, all of a sudden, after all the shit that he did. Come on. So, I guess Kishimoto wanted to give a happy ending. I understand that. But come on. Let's be honest here. I wouldn't have mind if Sasuke stayed single, honestly. And maybe that relationship could have been more built up after the war arc. Not just forcibly making them have fucking kids and we start Boruto. Like, what the fuck? I want to see how that happened. Why did that happen? That was a little forced, for sure. Sakura just never had the moments to shine inside. Yeah. It's like she was only there to be laughed at by the fam. I agree. But thankfully, Sakura hate died down. Yeah, it has died down. She's definitely a better character now. But yeah, it's definitely she was definitely not the best written. I think the Sasuke novel was built on that too, but I don't know too much about it. Yeah, I wish the main timeline would have built up on it more. Like I want to see more. I want to see how it comes to be. I really wish that was the case. But now this is all opinion. Continuing on, in a fighting themed anime, it is hard to admire or like a character like Sakura, who seemingly seems so selfish and shallow as far as her values. Right. So that's the way we look at her. Less now, but overall. So in my opinion, Sakura wasn't completely useless. She's not useless like trash. I mean, she kind of is trash, but she's not completely useless, right? So, but she was definitely a very dislikable character with little to no substance as a character, especially early on. No substance, right? She just seemed like a leech a lot of the time, like a leech, leeching off Naruto and his will to do what it takes. She was leeching off that, you know. Kishimoto tried to give her some credit and have her learn medical ninjutsu, but even then, he had her doing these dumb acts, like trying to go after Sasuke, sedating the other shinobi. Like, come on, man, have her mature more than that. Honestly, that's my opinion, though, obviously. But so I think a better way she could have been written is if she was given a more kind of Tsunade type of personality early on. Like that kind of personality where she's respected. She's respected. She's someone that does what it takes. She's a shinobi, not a fucking little girl that's basically. So, and I also would have liked if they would have explored her personality and philosophy more. Like Itachi or like a Naruto or like a Sasuke or an Obito. I would have liked for her character to be more further explored in that aspect because she just seems very shallow with little to no substance. With a happy ending with Sasuke, that really wasn't explored either. You know, so she's not useless, but she's very dislikable with little to no substance as a character. That's just a reality situation. However, I'm still power scalar, you know, logically sound in a logically sound way, right? And I understand no one wants to see her in a hypothetical beating Madara. I fucking don't like her at all. I'd really dislike her still, but I gotta be objective. I have to be. Conan and Tsunade are the best written females. That's fair. I think I agree with that take as well. I think I agree with that take. But yeah, if all that would have been done, we would have been more emotionally attached to her as the viewers. We would have been more emotionally attached for sure. As viewers, we would have been more attached, and we would have liked her more. You know. Now on the flip side, there's Hinata, right? But she was more the epitome of what a girl should be, right? At least to many people's opinion. She was always loyal to Naruto, always loved Naruto, even when he was, considered a fucking loser and he had no respect when he was in hell, right? Like as a child, she always cared about him, which is why we come to like her, right? Um, Not to say Sakura doesn't need to have that path, though. Not every female needs to have that path. Females can have paths like Tsunade or some other path where they're respected for other reasons besides being like the perfect girlfriend or some shit. You know, I'm all for it. So I really wish we could have done something like that, honestly. But yeah, so to add shortly, she's not useless, but very close to it, basically. Even now, I mean, she's a good mother and all that. She's had her cool moments, but yeah, it's basically my take. This is reality. But the next topic I have is how Naruto should have been written after Shippuden, in my opinion. Let me read these real quick though. Even though Sasuke tried to kill her a million times, it's the worst thing in Naruto series, period, for me. I agree. That was awful. Minato was the exact same as Sakura, but she never did anything stupid. But I hate the double standard sometimes when it comes to. I agree. That I agree with. There's definitely a double standard. They both didn't have much substance character wise. Conan Tsunade and Samari, best girls within the series. Yeah, I like them. They have good personalities. They have some substance. They're shinobi. They have their own philosophical takes on the shinobi world. Definitely agree. But Next up, how Naruto should have been written after Shippuden. Now, this is all opinion based. Again, this is not facts or anything, not power scaling. But in my opinion, I think the direction of the Naruto timeline could have gone in a better direction compared to the current Boruto timeline. And this is how, in my opinion. So, what would have been interesting is to see more of Sasuke's missions he did as a sort of Shadow Hokage. It would have been nice to see Kakashi's time as Hokage, and it would have been nice to see Naruto's life and progression as a shinobi after the war arc. I would have liked all of that. I would have liked for them to have some more moments, right? Um, it doesn't have to be as long as Shippuden, just a few episodes, like 50 episodes where they keep growing. Maybe we see what it's like when Hinata's pregnant or Sakura's pregnant. We could see how Sakura and Sasuke's relationship actually progresses, like a more organic way of progressing, not just like a magical fucking button and they're having kids. Like I would like to see more of that. That would have made us appreciate Boruto much, much more. I think it would have been much, much more. Um, and we would have probably liked Boruto and all the characters much more now. They would have more substance. The relationships between the adults would have more substance. Like I want to see how the fuck did Shoji marry that girl from the cloud village? How the fuck did that happen? I would love to see that more in depth. All of that. I would love to see it. It would have been nice. Like make shit make sense. I want to see Tamari and some Shikamaru adventures. Maybe they go on some missions together or something. That would have been nice. Rock Lee, why is he fucking single? Why is that the case? Tenten, maybe give her some development. Just all of that would have been nice. Would have been nice. And I wish they could have gone more in depth. Make us appreciate the next generation more. See how it came to be. Not just jump into Boruto, where he's giving godly power and he's like the shit already early on. He didn't earn it like his dad did. Wish that would have been the direction. So also a slower build up to these Otsutsuki level threats, right? Such as Jigen and the cyborgs. That would have been very interesting. Like more background behind all this would have been nice. Like even more. More the better, honestly. I don't know why. What's the point of rushing? Maybe they wanted to continue the legacy somehow, but you don't have to force anything. We're patient. We're very patient as a fandom. Yeah, it's getting adapted into manga next year, I think, so we can maybe see it animated one day. Yeah, I definitely want to see that animated for sure. The villains didn't get enough time to build up. I agree. I agree completely. The writers and modern anime in general seem lazy. Not all animes. There's a lot where they do rush it. They want to continue the legacy and the popularity of the old generations, the old animes. And that's really not the way to go. Like even Dragon Ball Super, a little rushed, a little scattered, not very organized, in my opinion. Um, is it trash? Of course not. I like Dragon Ball Super, but definitely mistakes and flaws that could have been avoided with just better writing and more focus on the writing. So, same thing with Boruto. Same thing. The new generation anime seem to have that kind of trend, which is unfortunate. Yeah, like take your time. It's fine. We'll fucking wait. Fucking Naruto is like 500 episodes. We fucking love it. It's fine, man. It's really not that big of a deal. So they could have definitely stretched it out much more. One thing I hate is how Kage was so rushed. It could have been, I agree completely, way too rushed. Way too rushed. We went from this amazing buildup with Madara to this one creature, Kaguya, coming out of nowhere. She definitely had potential. I would say this: a powerful character always has potential if written well. That's why Kaguya, we don't really, as far as a character, we don't really care for her. We just like to use her in power scaling. We don't really care for her as a character, though. None of us do. I think that's pretty universal amongst the Naruto fandom as far as character. We don't really give a shit about her. There's no substance there. So that would have been nice. What if Rock Lee was the main character in the Naruto series? Would he be better than Naruto? It's a good question. He definitely had early on in the Chunin exams. I heavily admired what Rock Lee represented. Very similar to Naruto in that sense. He was an underdog and no genjutsu, no ninjutsu. If he would have been the main character, it probably could have worked, in a different world, in a different reality. Would he be better than Naruto? That's tough to kind of quantify, right? Naruto had quite the amazing journey. It'd be hard to replicate and or beat that journey. Um, the story would have to be kind of modified to kind of be on the focus of Rock Lee, but I think there would have that would have been fine as well. Would I change the way it is? No, because we'll just never know what it looked like. But I think it's a possibility. Would it be better than Naruto? That'd be hard. Naruto's an amazing character. Very, very. He's just very well written. What he represents, everything about him, amazing. That was Shonen Jump's fault. I'm not gonna lie. They make Kishimoto rush to end. Yep, probably very true. She could have been a good person. She wasn't actually evil, just misguided in ideology. Yeah, yeah. She had potential for some great character moments, but they rushed her way too much. I hate how Neji did nothing in part two when he was a standout and cool in part one. Yeah, that seems to be the common trend in many of the tuning many of the Shinobi the tuning exams. I would say, yeah, Neji, Ten, Rock Lee, they all went to the wayside. No one gives a shit about them. Really. Not now. Tuning exams was their peak as a character, easily. After that, they kind of like, all right, let's continue on Naruto and Sasuke. Like, and I know there's only so much you can write about, but I don't mind more writing, more chapters, more volumes, whatever. I really don't. But Naruto is still very well written. Rock Lee reminds me a lot of MCS, who started with nothing, then gained respect from people around them. Yep, I agree. Off topic, but do you think Amato has the potential to be an S tier villain? That's a good question. By the way, guys, ask me any question you want. By the way, um, I'm taking questions now. I only have one more topic, but it's more of like it's not related to Naruto. Off topic, I would say what I like about Amato is that he just kind of brews suspicion and mystery. He kind of broods that. Um, he just kind of gives off that impression. You don't really know what his real motive is. Even now, we know that he's helping Kawaki and Boruto with their karmas, right? He's trying to help them control the power. However, we don't know what his real motive is. We don't know what he's doing. We don't know what kind of pills he's giving them or whatever help he's giving them. We don't know what motive he has. He could always have an ulterior motive. We never know. He's that kind of guy. So I really think he has the potential to be an amazing villain. He's kind of the evil mirror of Shikamaru. He's very intelligent, very clever, very calculated. That's who I compare him to. He's like an evil Shikamaru. Like if Shikamaru was a villain, right? Very intelligent, created the cyborgs, even manipulated and deceived the strongest villain of all fucking time, Ishiki, up to this point at least. That's how deceitful and calculated he is. And how cold he is. He never showed weakness. He's like a very stoic kind of individual. I really like him as a character. He's pretty fucking cool. I do think he has potential to be an S tier villain. I really do. He has high potential. Amazing character. He just, like I said, gives off mystery. His very demeanor and his very nature breeds mystery and suspicion. I'm always suspicious of the guy. I don't know what his next move is, which is the way it should be, for a character like him. So I think he has great potential for sure. Sucks Hagoromo didn't help more after Kaguya. Like, I know he's dead, but he can shit still, as we've seen, so he could have helped against the aliens. Exactly. A lot of people criticize that aspect. Like, what the fuck happened to Hagoromo? He gives him 6-pass powers and dips. Like, okay, I guess. Yeah, I would have liked to see him explored more. He was just kind of like, just there at the moment and just moved to the wayside. Let's see. Manga Boruto for me. Yeah, the manga is very good. I respect Rock Lee after his fight with Gaara. That was legendary, but perfect fight for me, in my opinion. It's one of the greatest fights in anime history, in my opinion. It was spectacular. A guy that goes against the grain and rises to the occasion. It's always the underdog story that compels us to get emotionally attached. That's why we love Naruto so fucking much and why we don't like Boruto. Well, we're liking him more and more, but he didn't earn it. He's not an underdog. He's born into privilege, born into peace. Now there's obviously conflict with the Otsutsuki, but he was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. So that's why he'll never be what Naruto was, in my opinion. Kawaki and Ishiki are the best Boruto characters from what I know. Amato has potential. I agree. Kawaki is actually a very, very well written character. I really like the direction, the trajectory they're going with him, um, and I really like how he has his own unique philosophy. He still cares deeply about Naruto, but he still has his own brain, his own head on his shoulders, and he was willing to kill Boruto because of his beliefs, and he did it. Killed him, at least seemingly. He's obviously not going to stay dead, but in the latest chapter, it killed him. And it's clear that Kawaki has his own mind made. Very interesting. He's already a great character. He's going to get better and better. In Ishiki, I think his build up was very well done. He's very intimidating. The most intimidating since probably like Madara, probably since then. Like the coolest, most intimidating since him. People think he's from the future because it's kind of. Yeah. I wish Madara was a perfect overpowered villain, just like Miriam from Hunter x Hunter. Unfortunately, Kishimoto didn't write him that way. Yeah, the coolest character, the coolest villains, we always want him to be like the OP. But now he's kind of going to the wayside. We have this upward trend in power scaling, and it's just the way it is. King Bullet did a great video on Ishiki. You should check him out, by the way. I've heard of King Bullet. I'm familiar with him, but yeah, I haven't seen his work. And CJ the Champ has fun videos on Ishiki Madara. Definitely want to delve into more people's perspectives, as well as give my own, possibly, in the foreseeable future. Make my own content, my own takes, in a more like formal setting like Swag's videos, Seth's videos. Definitely a goal of mine as well. But Boruto, the trajectory of the timeline, it's heading in a good direction. Could have been better, yes, of course. Could have built up the suspense more, develop the characters more, have us be more emotionally invested with the newer generation. All could have been done because it was rushed. It definitely was rushed. That's just unfortunate, but that just seems to be the case with these newer generation animes. They want to make money. In the world of social media and internet, they want to keep people talking. They want big explosions. They want big moments. They want big time villains, but they don't build that up. That's the problem. They want that kind of hype that Naruto had in the war arc. They want all that, but they don't want to have that grind to build that up. That's the problem. It is what it is, but Boruto is definitely improving. It's as an anime, as a manga, it's improving. It's heating up. I like it so far. Will it ever be Naruto? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they really pick up the pace leading up to the time skip. Who knows? I understand why people hate Madara getting backstabbed, but in my opinion, it's kind of true to his character. Yeah, I guess it's kind of ironic, so to speak, the backstab. Madara is one of the most complex characters of all time. It's amazing. Amazing. So Hunter x Hunter videos are, in my opinion, they are great videos from him. Yeah, I'll check that out for sure too as well. But Madara is one of the most well-written characters of all time. Not even just because of how he is, it's just his beliefs, his very intriguing philosophical takes. They're so impactful and well done that some people agree with him. Would the world be better if the infinite Tsukuyomi did take place the way he wanted to? If people were always in a dream state? That goes back to the idea of morality. What do you think is ethical? Should all people have free will, but yet live in a never-ending cycle of love and hate? Or should they have their free will taken away from them, but as a result, live in a perfect dream world for eternity? It's a good question, man. And his plan wasn't, I would say, blatantly evil. It really wasn't. And that's why he's such a spectacular character. Spectacular. He's a fucking amazing character. So I see the appeal for him. His philosophy is appealing to some extent. It really depends on what you value more. Never-ending happiness or free will. It really comes down to that. It's definitely based on perspective. And the fact that it's based on perspective and he's not just some typical villain, this shows the genius of Kishimoto. He's a genius, truly. Genius of his time with Naruto. Hopefully we see some of that in Boruto as well as time goes on. If he's heavily involved in the writing process, that is. I hope to see more of that. But, yeah. I have one more topic, but I'll give you guys a chance to ask more topics as this last topic isn't. It's power scaling related, but it's not Naruto related specifically. It would be fire Boruto to utilize Jashin as a future villain and connects to Hidan. Yeah, I think they explored that a little bit. There was one filler. There's like something with Jashin, but I think to me when Kaguya got It ruined the series of Naruto for me personally. Introducing aliens in the series, the story was about ninja. Exactly. You know, there's definitely a duality in Boruto. The idea between grinding like a shinobi should, earning their stripes, becoming formidable and threatening and respected, or the other side of the coin, the other side of this duality is God-given power, which came with the aliens, with the Otsutsuki. And a lot of people don't like that. It's not appealing because it goes against the grain of what Naruto represents. You know, the idea of hard work and dedication, or the idea of God-given power and privilege, which is what the Otsutsuki basically are. They're God-given power. They didn't earn any of that shit, right? We saw a clash of philosophies, especially in the Momoshiki fight. Naruto and Sasuke were hard work. Momoshiki was all privilege and God-given power. He literally has the ability to take your power, to take your jutsu, and like use it against you. It's really a clash of philosophies, you know. And the time skip, I think, is going to explore that. Honestly, my prediction is, that Kawaki seems to sort of represent the end of the Shinobi era. I think in his mind, this is all presupposition, it's not facts. I think what's going through his mind is that the Shinobi way doesn't work anymore because of the aliens, because of the God given power given. He doesn't seem to accept that. It seems implied he doesn't accept the way of the Shinobi, despite him caring about Naruto greatly, despite of him kind of delving into the Shinobi way a little bit. He doesn't accept it. He does not. He's like, it's not going to work against God-given power. And a lot of people don't want to see the way of the Shinobi end, but it seems like it's implied that it's going to end, and that Boruto is going to try and protect that. He's going to try and protect the way of his father, the way of the Shinobi way, which is hard work and dedication. That's what he's going to try and protect. That's my prediction. That's like the sort of philosophical clash that's going to take place. So in Naruto, it was different. It was the duality of Madara's philosophy and Naruto's philosophy. Madara's was the cycle of never-ending hate and love will never end, and the only way to stop it is through the removal of free will, through the infinite Tsukuyomi. That's what his philosophy was. Naruto's was, no, everyone deserves free will. There's no such thing as perfect peace, but there is optimal peace, right? His philosophy triumphed, right? He defeated Madara, he defeated Sasuke. His philosophy triumphed, and people have free will. So there's definitely duality in both. It's just different aspects. The time skip is the biggest upcoming thing for Boruto right now. They got to execute it perfectly, especially with all the hype. Exactly. They better. They're banking on it. To make Boruto like a legendary anime, they're gonna have to do it perfect. If they want to be at the level of Naruto is as an anime, they're gonna have to do something like that. They're gonna have to. And hopefully they don't make the mistake that the Naruto timeline did at the end with bullshit Kaguya, like the way all that played out. You know, they could have had Madara be the final villain and just be an amazing villain. Like an amazing ending. But they went with the Kaguya route, which wasn't horrible, but it wasn't the best either. So there's that as well. But yeah, guys, I'll take a few more questions, and then I'll wrap it up with my last topic. Unless you guys have any questions in Naruto or anime or anything really. I'll let you guys ask, and I'll give my final topic. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be anime. Do you think either Boruto or Kawaki will die at the end? It's a good question. Do I think they will die? Going based off what we do know, this is a possibility in my eyes. It's a possibility that the writers don't want to go the same route they did with Naruto and Sasuke. Maybe there will be a death this time. Maybe one of these guys dies and it starts a new trend. It's not the same way that the original that the Shippuden timeline ended. I think the writers don't have the intention of continuing on with the ways of Naruto. I mean, it's obviously pretty obvious. They have the aliens and all this other shit. So my prediction is it's definitely going to go a different route. Like when Boruto and Kawaki finally fight, I think there's a possibility that someone could die. I honestly do. It just seems to me that they're going a different route with it all. It's not going the same way that Naruto and Sasuke's journey did. It's different. So I think it's from that, you can imply that someone will die. I tend to believe it's Kawaki, with Boruto being the main character. I think he'll die at the hand of Boruto, and he'll have no choice. Maybe things are just different. Again, the idea of the Shinobi Way being dead, the idea of giving people the benefit that Dao is dead. Who knows? That's all presupposition, but I think that's a possibility. Just with the way things are going right now, I think someone is going to die. I think people are going to die. People are going to die. People we don't want to die are going to die. I think that's the whole point of the next generation. That's a presupposition, but it's my opinion, my prediction. But we shall see. We shall see what takes place. We shall definitely see that. But any more questions, folks? I'll give my last topic. I think it's kind of interesting. Me ranting, but this is a little topic that I have. Wait a couple moments. But yeah, Boruto's heating up for sure. Most definitely is. Which is exciting. All right. Well, it seems there are no other questions. So I should give my final topic. And this has to do more with the real world. It has to do with emotions and logic-based thinking. All right. So in debates on the internet in general, I see a lot of people blurring the lines between logic and emotion. Emotions cloud your judgment. All right. We live in a logic-based reality. Laws of science, laws of math that aren't concerned with your emotions. A lot of people don't want to accept reality. Even with debating, right? When you're debating these topics, like, for example, the Minato versus Shisui one, there's really people that think Shisui would win because of their emotions. In anything, in any fucking topic. The reality of the world, the idea of not liking something, the facts, or the heavily implied possibility does not care about your feelings. They really don't. You got to be logically based when making assessments, whether it's fucking anime power scaling, whether it's scientific topics, philosophy, whatever the case may be. The emotion, you can't let emotions cloud your judgment. And unfortunately, on social media, emotions are distorting the lines between emotions and reality. It's like people are brainwashed to really believe things based off what they think, not based off the reality. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. We got to live in the real world. We got to live in a objective based reality, and that's so rare. Unfortunately, from my observations at least, it's so rare that people are objective. They don't want to be objective on any topic, really. They want to go based off their emotions. There's definitely the trend of tribalism, right? The trend that is this. All these people believe this, so I am too, and we're going to fight for our emotionally based takes, even though it's not. It doesn't. It doesn't connect to reality. That's dangerous. That's a dangerous idea. From politics to anime to all kinds of shit. It's very dangerous. It's very, very dangerous trend that I see. And I hope that more individuals see that logic triumphs emotions. Logic triumphs that. And that doesn't mean to be, a machine, to be some sort of computer. Emotions are good at times as well, in relationships and things of that nature. But you've got to be logical in the real world. It's just the way it is. Even if you're wrong, a lot of people don't want to accept when they're wrong. It's a real pandemic. It really is. It's a real problem. Sometimes it scares me, the amount of people that are sort of tribalistic and they kind of conform to this emotionally based take that is just bullshit. Right? It's scary. It really is. Not even just in anime, in anything. It's a huge pandemic. It's a huge problem. So for the people that care, right, I would suggest, and I'm not a fucking expert on anything. This is just my suggestion from my opinions and my observations. Be logically based in most of the things that you do. Right? Be logically based. It's very important. So, someone has a question though. Who do you believe to be superior Shinobi? Tobirama or Minato? Well, based off statements, I would say Minato. Tobirama considered him faster than himself, right? I would say probably Minato. I know that's contentious. I know there's an argument for Tobirama, but based off just from thinking what I can now, probably Minato. Um, I know some people out there that have come up with some arguments for Tobirama. You know, very very interesting. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, my suggestion to everyone out there is be logical, control your emotions. You know, compartmentalize that, especially superior power accomplishment. I think Minato's superior, at least alive, than both. Um, he accomplished more from what we know than Tobirama. So I think he's more powerful and more accomplished. Well, to be more specific, I think he beats Tobirama in the event that they battle, and I think he's more accomplished. You know, he has more going for him. That's interesting, though. It's so contentious and can be further explored for sure. Very interesting stuff. But yeah, but like I was saying, yeah, don't allow emotions to cloud your judgment. You know, even in your daily lives, don't allow it. It's a huge problem. You know, and I don't mean to get too deep into this, but it's just people are just too emotional. It's a real problem. You know, it's a real problem. If you want to be respected, just train your mind to do that. I don't think there's an argument for Toriyama against Minato. I've heard of some, but yeah, um, I know there's some famous videos on it that I must check out. But I do think Minato beats Toriyama though. I do. So, but yeah, it's just a huge pandemic that I see with emotions overriding logic. It's a huge problem. Huge problem. You know, um, that's just a rant that I had to have because it's just so common from the anime community to Twitter. It's just, in what context are we talking about the emotions clouding judgment thing? So let's say, what's a good topic here? Or a good reference, point of reference. I guess an example is just, let's just use an anime one because we're talking about anime. Let's use Itachi versus, oh no, let's use the one we were talking about today, Minato versus Shisui. There's really individuals that think Shisui wins just because of how they feel, right? They'll wank him to a very outlandish extent. But that's not reality. That's not the most probable thing based off what we know. Using logic, not emotions, logic, right? Minato wins. You're using this, right? And that's when your emotions cloud your judgment. They cloud your ability to calculate things in a logical sense. I like this character, so he can't lose. Exactly. That's exactly right. And in a real world context, maybe something like, let's see, I don't want to get too controversial here, but something like, let's say, a gender thing. Let's say the wage gap. I don't want to get too controversial, get canceled, but the wage gap is a myth, right? The reasons for it has nothing to do with gender. We live 2022, right? We live in one of the most progressive times in human history, the most progressive. There is no wage gap. There is no reason to be a victim just because of how you feel, just because of you're not earning your take in the world. You can't use that. You can't use emotions. You know, be logical. Yeah, when it comes to things that are discussed based on logic, emotions should not override, but there are things in which emotions can. I agree with that. Yeah, there is. Right. Um, Emotions are important when it comes to morality, right? You know, like philosophers talk about it all the time. They talk about what is the greater good, right? Emotions are going to come into that because you need to feel compassion, you need to feel sympathy to come to a conclusion for that. Because if you don't, you're going to have a computer-like mind, and computers, right, would probably come to the conclusion that we shouldn't exist anyway, or some shit like that, some very extreme point of view, because they're completely logical. There is no emotions, there's no sympathy, compassion. So it is important in some aspects for sure. Probably like politicians, people like those, you need to have some sort of emotion, but you do got to be logically based as well, you know, which is another world that is extremely toxic, political world, extremely fucked up. You know, it's fucked up. You can't have any discussions without emotions getting into it. It's truly a pandemic, a very very scary thing. There's tribes that form that will, you know, kind of hold their beliefs to their souls so tightly they don't want to listen to any other person's perspective, right? And that's a scary idea. And they try to force their perspective on you. Immorality is basically what you should and shouldn't do and what you should and shouldn't say. And sometimes emotions will fall into that stuff. Exactly. The problem, in my opinion, with the gender dilemma is the undertones of inequality when numbers do line up. I'm not completely disagreeing, but it's a super nuanced topic. I'll say this: the best way to go based on this thing is through statistics. Statistics is the best way to come to a logical conclusion. Not talking to someone that's like, "Oh, I didn't get the job because I'm X, Y, or Z." Go based off the statistics, and if the statistics indicate discrimination, then that's a problem. But the statistics don't indicate that as far as gender. They really don't. You know, we have affirmative action now. We have a lot of things that help, you know, what are considered minorities and things of that nature. I think we live in a time that is really close to equal opportunity, right? We can't say, oh, everyone has equal opportunity. That's disingenuous. It's not true, right? And when it comes to ways to go, I'm not disagreeing. Yeah. I'll say this about the gender thing now that we're talking about it. There's advantages and disadvantages for both sides. You know, the world is amoral, you know, and I think it comes down to biological factors as well. It's biological factors, and that can't be changed. That's fucking biology. That's nature, right? Um, but I don't want to get too controversial. I know those people that get triggered by reality, by logic, which is very unfortunate. But there's advantages and disadvantages that can't be negated by legislation due to biological hardwiring. That's the way it is. You know what I'm saying? That's the reality of the world. Biology, the cells in your body, the physiology of your very body itself doesn't care about morality. And that dictates the disadvantages, advantages between genders as well. That's reality. You know, that's amoral. You know, the way we are built as human beings, that's immoral. Amoral. That doesn't, you know, it won't appeal to our morality. I wish it did. I wish there's women that could, you know, compete with people in the NFL. I wish the biology could do that for them. That'd be amazing. That's not reality, you know. So we live in a amoral place. There is morality when it comes to some things that are more abstract, like laws, like equal opportunity, discrimination. That's where morality comes into place. But when it comes to biology and just things that are concrete, morality really isn't a factor. People don't want to accept that sometimes, but you need to react to Naruto AMVs. An example would be called I've Lost. I actually used to. If you guys look at my videos, there's some old AMVs that I used to do. Pretty interesting. My understanding of the series. Yeah, I love AMVs actually. Big fan. Big fan. But I'll let you guys ask some questions. A couple more minutes, and if not, I believe I'll end it here. You know, this is the most controversial I think podcast I've ever done. I've never talked about like gender stuff and stuff. Do you agree with Swag's opinion in his most recent video with Minato stomping Obito down the Nine Tails? I personally feel like he kind of underestimated Obito. That's a good question. All right, and I actually do not agree. I think Obito did very well. He did very well against Minato. He competed, and Minato himself stated this is going to come down to inches. This is going to come down to who can hit someone first, which implies he respected the guy. He literally called him Madara. Not so much respected Obito because of what he's capable of. So I honestly didn't think he stomped me. He did not stomp Obito in any way. He was on his heels. He's superior to Obito. He was superior to him in that instance. But he wasn't stomping him. there is definitely some degree of relativity, most definitely. So I don't agree. He did not stomp. So if he stomped, then Minato probably wouldn't even have died. I know that has to do with the Nine Tails, but no, definitely not stomping. Based off what he said himself too. He said it from his own mouth. Like he respects this guy, impressed with this guy, he's threatened by this guy. He literally like states that himself. So yeah. But a couple more minutes, guys. Ask me any questions you may have. This is a good podcast. Appreciate all you guys coming in. Yeah, the strength thing is just factual. I would just say the consensus of what we understand now is what we understand. There's a flexibility in our knowledge of science. Yeah, like biology is biology. People don't accept that. There's things that are just the way they are. And due to biological hardwiring when it comes to genders, we're programmed to think a certain way. Men and women think differently. They think differently, and that's the harsh reality. And I think people, both sides, when it comes to dating specifically, they should keep that in mind. We think differently. It's that we don't think the same. So this idea of compatibility, in my opinion, at least in things that come, I mean, there's more abstract things that you can be compatible in, but men and women are different. That's just the way it is. Not one is not better than the other. They're different. Simple as that. Like let's see. When it comes to the stuff like Minato or Itachi, people would say Itachi would win due to popularity and emotions, but then they would get angry when you have a mountain of evidence for why he would not win against Minato. I agree. That's exactly what the pandemic is. It's a true pandemic. It's a scary thing because people really believe it. They truly, deep down, believe this shit based off emotions. That's scary. That's a scary thing. You can't let emotions cloud your judgment. You got to come to logically based conclusions. With the most logically sound conclusion. That's what you need to do. That's the best course of action. I was saying in some animals there are more than X, 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 Y chromosomes, etc. There's stuff we don't understand, so we can only say that. Yeah, but I would say that when it comes to humans, we're the most. I think we've researched ourselves more than any animal. I think that's kind of safe to say, and the way we've evolved and the way that the humankind continues to progress, there has to be differences between men and women for them to coexist. From our biology or physiology to the way we think. That's all from, I would say, at this point, millennia of human history, and then I would say centuries of research indicate that there is a commonality of how women think, and there's a commonality of how men think, and that's due to biology. It's due to biological hardwiring. We have common tendencies. There is exception to the rules, of course, but we can't go based off exceptions to the rules because that's disingenuous. There's definitely commonality between men and women. They're definitely different. One's better at something, the other's better at something. Together we coexist, and together we continue to progress human history. But that also goes into psychology, which can be more subjective. I get your point, just a little more rigid than I. Psychology. That's a fair argument. Psychology. At the end of the day, while environment does, when it comes to an individualistic standpoint, psychology does, I would say, or environment, does kind of, influence you. However, biological hardware is also something that makes you who you are, and see if someone else said something. I really get suspicious when people try to downplay Naruto. His speech during the war are just so blatant. Really have to do some mental gymnastics and nitpick reason why he's not strong. Minato is extremely powerful. And there's even arguments I've heard that suggest he could be like the likes of Hashirama, which is a little bit more contentious, but yeah. But I think what people don't want to accept is just the idea of adaptations. Humans adapt, right? They adapt to their environments, and because of that, there's a commonality amongst humans, right? We all have our own minds, our own consciousness, our own ability to think and make choices, but there's a commonality between us all. There's a commonality between men and women. People got to accept that. A lot of people want to think that they're the chosen one. They're not. in this modern, in first world country, to become special, you got to earn that, and you're just like everyone else until then. This is reality. The hormones produced by biological can have mental effects. Yes, but I don't see him beating Hashirama, but I can see him beating Hiruzen, and that's me giving Minato points for charity. Yeah, I know Minato. Swag made a video on it. Pretty interesting, but I tend to still go with Hashirama. I mean, the guy beat Madara, which I don't think we think would beat Minato either. So it's like, yeah, I don't think he beats him either. I've seen some arguments for it, like speed wise and stuff like that, but I agree, he doesn't. But yeah, basically my whole rant on that was just to establish the fact that do not let your emotions cloud your judgment. Stick to what we do know, right? What we do know is the best course of action, you know, and that's the best way to go. Don't let emotions cloud that, and you try to go against the grain because it goes to your detriment. It really does. But then you get into whether or not nature intended us to be is relevant. What is natural and unnatural? If we change our DNA, is that unnatural if we did it and come from nature? Sorry, I couldn't help going down. No, I like the rabbit holes. I'm the same way. I think natural from just years of research indicate that there's an adaptation commonality amongst all animals and organisms. We tend to adapt to our environment, and hence you can conclude that there are commonalities amongst individual species, right? Humans, there's a commonality. We all have hands, we all have legs, we all want, we all have this inherent desire to reproduce. That's all just the reality. There's people that I don't want to get too down the rabbit hole either, but that say they're asexual. That's bullshit. That's it's highly unlikely that someone's asexual, not attracted to a certain gender. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. I don't want to get too deep down. I'm gonna get canceled for sure. But yeah, sorry I couldn't help. Oh, when's your next vid? I have one today, Sir Geets. It's interesting. I'm sure you guys will like it. I want to keep bringing more and more vids for sure. On that page, what about the animals with your chromosomes? Again, it comes down to species as well, but I believe humans are the epitome of organisms, at least on this planet. But I think comparing different species, it's like comparing apples to oranges. You can't compare us to like lizards, or compare. I mean, in some ways you can, but you can't compare them. It's there's more to it. Jeets. Oh, with a J pronunciation. Okay. Jeets. Simply build different, all jokes aside. Yeah. What I notice is people like to nitpick at the commonalities, right? And I mean, it's good to be progressive in some things. Like if it weren't for progressiveness, we'd still be in the 1800s, right? We'd still be in times where there was discrimination, which is not okay. That's immoral. There's things that should be changed, but when it comes to biological things like gender thing, that just goes with times. Men are men, women are women, and that shouldn't be distorted with other things like discrimination and things of that nature. I personally always see debates and try to get different perspectives, and usually the more logically based one's the one that wins. So the moral of the story is stay logically based. Of course, be an independent thinker. Of course, the logic of today may not be the logic of tomorrow. I'm just saying I would approach that slightly differently, but we have different psychology on that. Oh, there is most definitely unnecessary progression. You're 100% right. To the point where it's detrimental. You're completely correct on that. Logic of today. But we go based off the logic of today. The best we can do is go based off what we know and kind of subtly learn more new things, right? We don't just do things out of We don't do extreme things. Even in science, there's trial and error, based off what we know. And they slowly build to gain more and more knowledge. You can't go be rash in your decisions. You got to slowly build that. If you want to learn new things, you got to be careful in that approach because you're approaching unfamiliar territory, even in science, scientific method. The scientific method implies you got to be very careful when delving into new things. You can't just, you know, you got to stay logically based. It's the best way to go for the best possible outcome. Yeah, but when it comes to unnecessary progression, Chidori, you're completely right. It's detrimental to this point. Detrimental. I understand this idea of sympathy and being empathetic towards towards individuals, but at some point you're going to have accountability. There has to be accountability as well. A lot of people don't like taking accountability, like being victims, having a victim mindset. That's dangerous. There has to be accountability. You have to earn your way to success or whatever it is. You got to admit your inadequacies. You can't blame the world on that because you'll never develop as an individual. It all comes down to an individual level. If people were accountable, I think the entire world would improve. Honestly, if more people were accountable and worked on their inadequacies instead of being complacent and having this progressive way of thinking where the world's out to get them. That's just, people really try to shoehorn things with emotions. Yes. It's best to go off what you know instead of being rash when it comes to actual things instead of what it is. What ifs. Exactly. That's why there's a scientific method. That's to avoid being rash, to avoid negative consequences. You have to be careful, not rigid. I can't tell if you're giving off rigid vibes. You're pretty smart. I would assume not. Rigid as far as staying stuck in your ways. I don't know about that, but there's a fine line between rigid, right? Like 1 + 1 = 2. That's kind of a simplistic argument, but the idea is there's some things that are seemingly very concrete from just decades to centuries of trial and error, and now you should be somewhat rigid. But is it okay to be rigid to the point where you just believe what you believe? I don't know about that. Then the scientific method wouldn't exist. Theories would be obscure. So you gotta be a little progressive, but not too progressive. There's a need to be open, even if some people are abusing that opening. Yeah, I do agree. There has to be some progressive thinking for there to be, positive change. That's for sure. That's a fact. Thoughts on Kara versus the Akatsuki? Well, Saber, unfortunately, it's not very contentious at all. I'm sorry. The Kara would fucking destroy the Akatsuki. Easily. You put Ishiki in there by himself. It's over. I have my ways of thinking and acting. If I don't believe in something, whether it be religious or gender oriented, but I'm not going to ruin someone's day. Exactly. There should be, unhostile discourse. And that's fucking rare. That's scary. You can't have civil discourse anymore. People will talk shit and attack you with ad hominem attacks. I've had it happen many times because I try to be at least logically based. People get emotional. Emotions cloud judgment. It's unfortunate. And we live in a progressive world where emotions should be cherished and should be coddled. I mean, that's fine to be emotional, but come on, not to that extent. I'm sorry. The field of the gender to be truly rigid. I think if you're rigid, you need to be entrenched in that field of subject material. That's fair. I mean, that's an appeal to ignorance in a way, but yeah. Yeah, hostile discourse is huge, man. It's huge. Who would win? Team Minato Kakashi versus Chunin Exam Sasuke. Remember, Kakashi at 13 was literally Anbu member. Chunin Exam Sasuke versus Anbu members Kakashi. That's a good one. If it's the one that fought Gaara against Kakashi, it's kind of hard to quantify where Kakashi was really at. That's the problem. I would tend to side with Sasuke if it's Gaara Sasuke, he's gonna have a disability with the curse mark to some extent. So I'll kind of side with Kakashi, but that's very hard to tell. The scaling in Boruto is garbage. How could Delta take on Naruto while using Kurama? I agree, but unfortunately, there's always an upward trend in villains when it comes to when you get down the time. The farther you go down the timeline, the more powerful a villain usually is. But but yeah, this is the first time I go down these rabbit holes. Wow, I'm glad that there's some of you that like, you know, these more abstract concepts like the idea between emotions and logic. It's very interesting. Well, I would far to say a lot of us have some level of ignorance in things we debate or believe, because if you aren't the boots on the ground discovering these things on the day, you aren't cutting. Yeah, well, in this world where we have seemingly the easiest access to information ever possible on not everything, but on many, many, many things in this world, if you do some adequate research, I would say you wouldn't be incompetent to debate, unless you're debating a renowned world expert, of course. But if you're in the average world, it's quite easy, to have your opinions on the world. Obviously, we go to the experts, right? Because they know more. Doctors, lawyers, we give the nod to them because they know more. But on these more abstract things like gender studies and all that, it's honestly not that hard to learn about it through research. It's not very difficult. Things, despite me being a science and race car lover. Yeah, it's always good to learn new things. It always is. You know, um, but yeah, this podcast definitely went down a very interesting rabbit hole. Lesbian dance theory. Oh my god, that's a crazy name for a theory. You know, but I do agree there is things where we don't know. Like the idea of the afterlife. No one knows that concretely. What happens after we die? No idea. We can make our assumptions or predictions. Discuss, you know, the idea of God, at least scientifically speaking. There is some very, very respected individuals within the science world that tend to believe he's real, but again, we don't know. So in that aspect, that's different. But in things that are more concrete, you got to be somewhat rigid. You have a PlayStation. Actually, yes, I do. I do have one. I was definitely more rigid 5 years ago. Maybe it's just my path. I guess I was projecting away, but much love to you. No, there's no problem at all. I really enjoy these civil debates. I love debating. I really do. It's pretty addicting, especially when you're debating someone that isn't an emotional wreck. It's very interesting. I like your reactions. I appreciate it. I'm trying to bring more original content, actually. I'm trying to bring more original content myself. Like that one Itachi video I had when what if Itachi killed the Uchiha clan? More like original content as well. I personally believe there is a higher being, maybe not God as we know, but a former higher being. Is that agnostic? Maybe not God as we know, but agnostic, goddamn, is like if you're on the fence about it, like if you have your doubts. Um, I would say it's not agnostic. You do agree, you do believe in a higher being, so I would say it's not agnostic, so to speak. But then you can make the term relative, like the Kabuki guy. Oh God, that guy's a fucking mess. Yeah, that guy's something else. He's very entertaining though. I think he's pretty cool. Um, yeah, the idea of God is very interesting. Um, Are there 100% arguments to be made for it? Of course not, but I think there's some fair arguments for it, and then there's fair arguments against it. It's tough. I think it is called a non-personable God, but I'm not sure. Yeah, interesting. Who do you think would win between Kid Goku from the original Dragon Ball versus KCM2 Naruto? Oof. Kid Goku. I would have to go back and see his specific power levels. Um, but if he's below planet level, well, KCM2 Naruto. Okay, let's think about that. If it's a high possibility that KCM Naruto was already planet level by the time he got six past powers. I don't know if he was planet level when he was KC. I think he was relative to Hashirama when he was KCM2. But I would say it's tough. I think it's contentious. That's hard to think about. Kid Goku would be Moan level. In that case, I think he'd probably beat Naruto. KCM2 probably wins. The 6 pass one probably does. I agree. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that one's like planet level. I agree. Do you think Naruto himself will get another series as a protagonist? Maybe a series set during his Jonin days. I think that would be a great idea for some more, for us to delve more into Naruto as a character. I would love to see that. And I know it would be a prequel now that we're in Boruto this far, but I wouldn't mind that to reminisce. Will you check out any of N-Chamber's Naruto videos? They're mostly lore, but it's a different vibe. Yeah, I definitely want to explore more. I've been trying to explore different videos. I watched 6 videos more. I agree. It should be Hashirama level around K-Sim to Naruto. Yeah. Off the have Nine Tails being able to turn the world. Oh yeah, I've seen that statement. Yeah. I guess that's an argument you could use for him being planet level. Um, but when I look at it transitively, I feel like he isn't. But if you use that statement, and that is a fair argument as well, definitely. If he's planet level, he does beat Kid Goku. If he's like Hashirama level, which I would assess he's multi-continental around there. That's my assessment, like my prediction of how powerful he is. He would have beaten Kid Goku with him being Moon level. Um, yeah, that's interesting though. That's contentious for sure. But wow, this podcast was actually very good. Very good questions, folks. I'll take 2 or 3 more, and I'll call it a day. This is actually a very good pod. Appreciate all that asked. Very well done. I didn't have any other individuals with me on this one, but still very well done podcast. Very interesting. And we actually went down some real life topic holes, rabbit holes. Very interesting stuff. I love debating. So please, and here it's easier because I don't have to talk with individuals and it gets loud. Like on the Discord, that other podcast, that was pretty hectic. Hashirama looked at Tento's Obito and said, "The guy's stronger than me." And Naruto beat Tento's Obito. That's a fair point, I suppose. Plus, he can stack stage mode, which is bare minimum 10 plus off of the curse mark, since Orochimaru said the curse mark, as he couldn't get stage jutsu. That's a good argument, actually. Jerobo says curse mark 2 is 10 times of curse mark 1. It's a great argument you could use. I think so many people actually downplay Naruto's intelligence. He literally beat Sasuke, who was one of the smartest in the series. Naruto has what I like to call this maverick mentality. Like, he has a sort of chaotic intelligence. That's what I would say. Chaotic intelligence. Like, he's very unpredictable, but yet very clever and very sly with his approach. He has his own unique intelligence. He's not like the cold, calculated type, but he has a chaotic sort of intelligence. Definitely. He has good battle sense. Yep, that's a good way to put it. Most definitely does. Yeah, he doesn't have like the typical book smarts, like the typical the tactical kind of intelligence. Not like an Itachi or Shikamaru. His is more like chaotic and maverick like, for sure. But yeah, guys, I think it's gonna wrap it up. Unless you guys have any questions, this is a very good pod for you guys. Let's see, Naruto is like above average, or at least smart in his own academic way, so he should be gifted. Yeah, he's definitely very unique in that aspect. But for you guys that don't know, that aren't in the Discord, I have a Discord. I try to do live podcasts, but no one asked any questions, so I said I'm not going to do it live there if no one's asking anything. So did it here. For you guys that are in the Discord and you want me live on there, you got to ask at least 5 questions, and there's a text channel for it. If you're not on the Discord, join it. It's literally a debate community. Even I partake sometimes as well. Try to partake when I can. I try to have my own. So for there to be a live podcast on Discord, you got to ask 5 questions. No one asked anything, so I'm not going to do it when no one asks anything. But keep that in mind. Join the Discord. Be very appreciated. Another side note, I've been every week Saturdays now. I'm streaming God of War, but on Twitch, which is also in the description. So if you're a God of War fan, I plan on going through the journey with you guys and also possibly discussing the power scaling that takes place. It's hard to quantify that in a video game, but definitely follow me on Twitch as well. This was a great pod. Intelligence isn't about what you know, it's about your mental flexibility and problem solving skills. Yeah, deduction is part of intelligence for sure. Not really God of War fan. It's fine. But yeah, follow me on Twitch. Go on the Discord, join in. You gotta earn your way though. That's the way the debate community works. You gotta earn your reputation. I do 5D Kratos easily. I don't know about higher. I agree. He scales extremely high. Extremely high. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know of any recommendations you may have for future videos. Make sure to sub if you haven't. We are growing and I appreciate it. But yeah, next time, ask 5 questions in the Discord. I'll do it live on there. Maybe next week, possibly. But I'll catch you next time, folks. And stay classy.